For 3 weeks, Daniel Carter had not slept through a single night. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the piano next door began to play. At first, he tried to ignore it. Then he tried earplugs. Then he tried sleeping pills. Nothing worked. Every night, the same haunting melody filled his luxury apartment. Daniel was the CEO of a billion-dollar company. He was used to solving problems with money, authority, and a phone call. But this problem had a human face. And when he finally knocked on his neighbor's door, he had no idea the woman on the other side would teach him a lesson he would remember for the rest of his life. Before we begin, subscribe to Kindness Library, like this video, and leave a comment telling us what you would have done if you were Daniel. Daniel Carter had built his life around control. At 39, he was the CEO of one of Chicago's fastest-growing technology companies. His calendar was packed weeks in advance. His phone never stopped ringing. Investors wanted answers, employees wanted decisions, and competitors wanted to know his next move. Daniel handled all of it. But recently, something had changed. Sleep had become a luxury. His new neighbor had moved into the apartment beside his only a month earlier. Her name was Emily Harris, a quiet woman in her early 30s who rarely spoke to anyone in the building. She owned an old upright piano. Every night, sometime around midnight, she played. The music wasn't loud enough to violate the building's rules. It wasn't even unpleasant. In fact, it was beautiful. But Daniel was exhausted. One morning, after sleeping less than 4 hours, he walked into an important board meeting and struggled to concentrate. His assistant noticed. "You look exhausted, Mr. Carter." "I am." That night, Daniel went home determined to sleep. At 11:47 p.m., the piano began. One note. Then another. Then a slow, emotional melody. Daniel stared at the ceiling. He checked the time. Midnight. 12:15. 12:30. Finally, he threw off the blanket. That's it. He walked into the hallway and knocked on Emily's door. The piano stopped immediately. There was silence. Then the door opened. Emily stood there holding a pair of headphones. She looked startled. "I'm sorry," she said. "Was I disturbing you?" Daniel had prepared an angry speech. But he didn't say it. Because up close, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. Her eyes were red. She had clearly been crying. "I haven't slept properly in weeks," Daniel said. "The piano starts late every night." Emily lowered her head. "I know." Daniel frowned. "You know?" She nodded. "I've heard you walking around." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Emily looked back at the piano. "My father used to play this song." Daniel glanced inside. On top of the piano sat an old photograph of a gray-haired man smiling beside a little girl. "My dad died 6 months ago," Emily said. "He was the one who taught me." Her voice broke. "I stopped playing after he died. I couldn't touch the piano for months." Daniel's frustration disappeared. Emily continued. "But a few weeks ago, I started playing again because I was afraid I'd forget the sound of him." Daniel looked at the photograph. Suddenly, the late-night music didn't sound like an inconvenience. It sounded like someone trying desperately to hold on to a memory. "I didn't know," Daniel said quietly. "You weren't supposed to." Daniel took a breath. "You don't have to apologize." Emily looked surprised. "I need sleep," he said. "But I don't want you to stop playing." She stared at him. "We'll figure something out." The next evening, Daniel returned from work carrying a small package. He knocked on Emily's door. Inside was a set of professional acoustic panels. "I had these installed," he said. "They'll reduce the sound coming through the wall." Emily looked at him. You did this? Daniel nodded. I complained before I understood. Emily smiled. And now? Now I understand. Their relationship changed after that. Emily moved most of her playing to the early evening, and Daniel began stopping by occasionally after work. One night, he asked her to teach him how to play. Emily laughed. You're terrible. I've negotiated billion-dollar contracts. That doesn't mean you can play piano. Daniel laughed. Apparently not. For the first time in years, Daniel found himself laughing without looking at his watch. Weeks later, Emily started giving free piano lessons to children in the building. Daniel quietly paid for the repairs to her father's piano. When Emily found out, she confronted him. You didn't have to do this. I know. Then why did you? Daniel looked at the piano. Because your father gave you something worth keeping. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Months later, the community room in their building had become a small music studio. Children practiced after school. Parents stopped by. Neighbors who had barely spoken before now knew each other. And every evening, music filled the building. One night, Emily played her father's favorite song. Daniel stood in the hallway and listened. When she finished, she looked toward him. Too loud? Daniel smiled. No. He paused. It's perfect. Daniel had spent years believing success meant controlling everything around him. Emily taught him otherwise. Sometimes, the right response to a problem isn't to demand silence. Sometimes, it's to listen long enough to understand why the noise exists. Behind every closed door, someone is carrying a story you know nothing about. A neighbor may be grieving. A coworker may be struggling. A stranger may be fighting a battle they never talk about. You don't need millions of dollars to change someone's life. Sometimes, kindness begins with one question. What happened? And sometimes, the person you thought was disturbing your peace is actually someone desperately trying to find theirs. Daniel knocked on Emily's door expecting to end the music.